I want to introduce Patrick Byrne and Ron Penny, or known as Rhino. They're going to tell you some great stories, folks. Let's welcome them.
This is Patrick.
Really?
Yeah, go ahead. No.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. First off, this is we're fairly overwhelmed by being invited. Actually, I mean, we don't get invited any place, so be aware. There's no telling what might come out of our mouths, but we'll try to keep it. There's no families in here, right? We might be okay.
No kids.
Yeah, we might be okay. So anyway, I'm going to let Patrick start because his career is very illustrious. And he'd worked for so many people. I'm just going to sit here for a while and collect my thoughts. Go, Patrick.
Well, we came from Kansas City, and I used to work up there in a couple of dance halls where I met the Daredevils. And Brewer and Shipley, if you guys know Brewer and Shipley, I went out on the road with Brewer and Shipley with one toke over the line, and then I met the Daredevils, same management company. And they had more gear. It's, for a roadie, that's more fun. You know, you got more stuff to do, so I went with them for several years. What? Move the mic. How's that? Whoa. Oh, man.
I'll show you how to do this.
But I went on the road with them for several years. Did a couple European tours with them, and then hired him. I've known him since he was in high school. And he went with us with the Daredevils for quite a while, and he got replaced by Larry, I guess, before we went to Europe.
Before you went, yeah, actually, we were getting ready to do the next album in L.A. You were going to drive to L.A., and because I wanted to stay for my twin brother's wedding, Stan fired me.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, because I was going to fly out and meet you in Denver, and instead they went, no, that ain't going to work.
So anyway, after he wasn't there anymore, we did a couple of more times with him, a few more years. And the end of the second Daredevils tour of Europe, Randy Towning quit the band, and I didn't know it. I had all the gear and it was all listed on carnets to go through the borders and stuff, and he took his gear home, and it wasn't with the rest of the gear, so it was kind of exciting to get out of Europe with half the gear.
Especially when they asked for that piece.
Oh yeah, they asked for those pieces, definitely. And got home, nobody could tell me what happened. I got home and found out that I'd gotten fired. My brother had gotten fired. And the same day, he called me. I was living out by Niagara. And I hadn't told my girlfriend yet I got fired. I didn't know what, I just bought a farm and stuff. I didn't know what I was going to do. And he called me the same day and asked what I was doing. I said, well, I just got fired by the Daredevils. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, that's funny because I got this new band. I'm working for them. We'd like you to come work with us. I said, really? Who is that? And he said, Fleetwood Mac. And I went, that's not a new band, man. I've got a bunch of their albums. But it's when Stevie and Lindsay joined the band and stuff, so it was a new band then. And I went with them for the next decade or so.
Right, and what's really interesting is about a week after I got fired from the Daredevils, I got a call from Mike Miller, who took my job at Cowtown. When I started working for the Daredevils, I didn't have to carry equipment up the back stairs of Cowtown anymore. So I thought, oh, yeah, this will be great. We'll get to drive around in a truck. It'll be fun. And Mike took my job. Well, when Fleetwood, the fake Fleetwood Mac came through town, did a show, and their roadie quit. And John Courage hired Mike Miller, asked him, he says, hey, you want a job? And he said, yes. So off he goes to L.A., and he calls me 6 months later saying, hey, I'm looking for, somebody to take care of some keyboards and some bass. And I went, okay. He said, yeah, we're in the studio, we're finishing up. And I said, okay, what's it pay? $250 a week and $35 a day. I said, well, how long are we going to be out? He says, oh, we're going to be out 2 or 3 months.
Forever.
And that was my 4-year vacation in California with Fleetwood Mac started then. But Stevie and Lindsay had just joined the band, and in fact, the first 4 weeks, she only sang about 6 songs.
Yeah, she wouldn't.
She wasn't even on stage. She just played her tambourine, spun around backstage once, and that was about it. Because everybody wanted to see the old Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
They all wanted to see Peter Green. They wanted to see Bob Welch. And it was really strange. So that's how, and the drummer, who was it? Oh, yeah. because they were gonna make me the stage manager, so I needed somebody to take my place. So that's when I called him, and it just so happened that he had just got fired from the same band that I'd gotten fired from before I went to work for Fleetwood Mac. So I went, okay, here we go.
We both
So-
got fired from Fleetwood Mac, too.
Yeah, we both got fired from Fleetwood Mac.
It happens a lot. in
Yeah,
this business.
you just one day you're there, and the next day they go, hey, here's your plane
here's your
ticket.
ticket.
Yeah, see you later. So yeah, but we went. I don't know. We went all over the world. We went
Several times.
several times, Europe, Japan. But to us, it was really weird because here we started, and Fleetwood Mac had just come out, and it's plodding along, and we're doing shows we played every college in the United States. We
Opening for Loggins and Messina.
there's all kinds of acts. We opened for
Yeah.
Loggins and Messina. We opened for Jesus, Rod Stewart. Jesus? No, he wasn't quite that old. I met a couple of people who thought they were Jesus, but that was a different deal. And I forgot I was going to start talking about Jesus. We're in trouble now. But it was real strange because we did the same thing every day.
Yeah.
We got up, we put the band gear up, they'd do their sound check, we'd sit around, we'd do the show, we'd take the stuff down, put it in the truck, and go to the next place.
Try to meet a girl in there somewhere.
You met girls?
Sometimes.
That's why I liked rooming with you. That was always fun. It was really weird, and one of my friends described it really succinctly. It just kept, pretty soon we're not driving trucks anymore. We're not driving our own motorhomes. We have a bus. We had a bus from Frank Zappa, Fido 2.
Fido bus. Yeah.
And it had reel-to-reel tape player. It had TVs. It had a driver. So we could sit in the back and do whatever we
That was
wanted.
big.
Yeah, that was big. That was because now you could get on after the show and you could actually meet girls. You didn't have to drive someplace. It was great. So that was a bonus. But it just, our stuff never really changed.
Yeah.
It was just, everything else just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And all at once we're going like, okay, we're going where? Okay, let's go.
The rooms were bigger. But
Yeah, the rooms were bigger.
The stage is the
Yeah,
same. where
stage
we
was
were.
the same. It was the same show every night.
Yeah.
You know, but we did 226 shows in 365 days, and we had 10 days off in Florida to rehearse for the Rumors album. The two tours we did. So I counted them up the other day. Leo and I counted
Really?
them. Yeah. So we were, even when we were with the Daredevils, when we were down there with the Daredevils, we had a house over, we were talking about this, we had a house over on Scenic. I think I stayed there maybe 10 nights in a 2-year period.
Yeah,
because
we
we
were
were
always
either in LA recording or we were out on the road. So we really it was strange to come home and go to your house and try to go to bed because it wasn't green and didn't say Holiday Inn, you know? And you didn't have room service.
I used to like coming back here, though, when I was the Fleetwood Mac days and Bob Dylan,
Right.
all that. I like coming back here because I can't call you at 3 a.m.
Right,
and
right.
need you to go get something.
Yeah,
for me.
that was the problem, because I lived in L.A. He would do the tour and come back
I'd
here.
come back here.
I would do the tour, and I'd be in L.A. and get stuck in the studio for 3 months walking Stevie's
That's not
dog.
fun to me.
No, wasn't fun. Going to buy whatever in the valley.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was not fun.
I don't do that stuff
No.
very well.
I
I did that for a few years.
But anyway, look, just you should read this list, because I made him sit down and write a list of everybody he's ever worked for, because he has worked
this
for.
ain't all of 'em.
I know, but it's just the ones you can remember. That was good.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
it's a whole page. Just go. Just read it.
Well, let's see. Started Freedom Palace in Cowtown in Kansas City, and Brewer and Shipley and the Daredevils, and Fleetwood Mac. And then I went to work for a lot of their opening acts. Christopher Cross, Bob Welch. Then, let's see, who else? Bob Dylan, worked for him a couple tours. Christine McVie, Lyle Lovett, McCarter Sisters, Desert Rose Band, Emmy Lou, I loved Emmy Lou. Fabulous T-Birds, Nicolette Larson. And then I went and did house gigs in Kansas City for a while. Ran an amphitheater and then joined the union. But I don't know, I have problems with, if I'm some places where there's a lot of recreational drugs, I have problems with that. So
Used to have problems.
used to have problems with that, yeah, but I had to leave town there after a while. and went back to driving buses. And then I worked for a lot of bands. Then you're always on the road, just different bands every month. The only ones I wrote down were like Jimmy Buffett, Sting, Cheap Trick, Stones, AC/DC, Pink Floyd, Paula Abdul, Kool and the Gang. There was a lot of them, a whole lot of them. And then I just stopped on the road. I just decided I wanted to stay home more. And I got in a little trouble, which made me stay home for a while. And I couldn't leave the state, so now I live up in middle of Missouri here, where I really like it. I love Missouri. I've always come home here. But I still do. That's all I do is rock and roll. Can't play for anything. Can't carry a tune in a bucket, but I can fix your guitar. I can set it up. It'll all be set up exactly how you want. And I can do that for years at a time. But I can't play anything.
You still do.
Huh? I still do, yeah. I do. We have the Roots and Blues and Barbecue Festival every year. I usually do Walkaroos if they're going to do it again down here in the Ozarks. And a couple little things. Some things at the university. I worked there for about 10 years off and on, too. Anywhere there's a stage, I'll work.
And I actually started, got a little band called Nation out of Kansas City that we traveled around the Midwest, and then I went to work for the Daredevils. Then I worked for Fleetwood Mac, and then did 3 tours with James Taylor, did a Jay Giles tour, did a...
Oh, I bet that was fun.
Oh, God, that was a
Good
blast.
band.
Yeah, it was hard. It was like the Kiss tour. Remember guys did the Kiss tour? You would hear horror stories. The Jay Giles tour was the same way. But
Not bad.
and then the last shows I did in rock and roll was the No Nuke shows in New York City for a week. And I quit rock and roll and went 2 reasons.
He's smart.
2 reasons I quit rock and roll. One is I needed a $250,000 Teflon job in my nose so I could get another $500,000 up of it. And the second reason was I wanted to live past the age of 35. So I quit rock. Yeah, I did. I made it. So I quit rock and roll and I went back to school and got my electronics degree. I went to MIT. I did. I went to MIT, graduated in
Missouri
18 months.
Institute of Technology.
Missouri Institute of Technology, but it says MIT on the deal. And it was
18 months.
18 months at MIT. The people think I'm a genius, but we're not. And I went in the telecommunications business for 40 years, so.
Not 40.
Yeah, almost.
Almost.
35 years.
You were with Fleetwood still in 80.
Yeah, and this
That's
is
40 years?
17.
God, I am getting old.
30 years. 30 years. 30 years. I just retired, yeah. 30 years. Seemed like a long time. Raised 2 kids,
Yeah.
they're gone. It's just me.
They were smart.
They were smart. They got it. So that's I don't know what else you guys want to know. It's really this is really weird for us being up here, by the way, because we
Backstage.
were never seen, never heard. We just did our stuff and moved on.
I still wear all black, so
Yeah.
you can't see me.
I'll tell you one thing that was really interesting, because we could walk into a place, and from the minute we walked in to the minute we left, we owned it.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was whatever you wanted, you could get. Whatever you needed to do, you could do. And it was scary at the same time, because we did some outrageous things, and there are. Yeah, I know. I'm not proud of them, but we did them. So
I still got scars.
yeah, but it's really strange for us to be up here. But if you guys have questions or something, that just go for it. Because go ahead.
Well, pretend like you're among friends, because you are.
Yeah, I know a lot of these people. So
And tell us some roadie stories. Those are the things we love to hear.
would you like to hear? I almost got busted under the LA freeway with a half an ounce of cocaine. That would be a good story.
Start.
I was not there.
It's a
No,
good start.
we had just finished up rehearsal, and everybody knows cocaine was a big deal with Fleetwood Mac. Okay, we don't need to go over that, because yes, it was true. Yeah, I know, you didn't get any.
Right.
No. So, we finished up rehearsal, and the road manager goes, "Rhino, let's go for a ride." And I went, "Okay." So we go to go to the Valley, and we go to this apartment. They had this gate, and you have to buzz the guy's place, and he can't remember what number this guy's apartment is. So he's standing there, and 2 cops come out of the gate and look at us, and I'm going, "JC, push a button. Just push one." He goes, "What?" I go, push a button. He goes, no, we'll go call the guy. And I'm going, this is not a good idea. And we get in the car, and we get under the freeway, and they light us up. And JC doesn't have a green card. They don't have green cards.
Oh, that's right. They didn't.
That's
want
right. So he hands me his cocaine, and I have cocaine in my pocket, and several other rolled material that might be smokable, but we don't. Yeah,
hold this.
Hold
That's
this.
a good
Yeah,
plan.
it's kind of like hold this, and I went okay. So I stuck it in my pocket, and they get us out of the car, and JC has a heavy English accent when he wants to. And he starts telling the story about we're over about trying to get a guitar. He tells them who we are, what we're doing. We're getting ready to leave town. We're trying to pick up a guitar. And while he's telling the story, he has to repeat it 2 or 3 times, so I'm telling the same story to the other cop. So they switch. And the same story comes out of our mouth both times. And they're they're going for it okay. And they said, well, we were over here on a burglary call. Can we search you? And I'm going, oh, God. And JC goes, well, we don't have any. He goes, can you go up against the car? And I'm going, okay. And we go up against the car. And he reaches down to my pocket, and he feels the bottle. And he goes, what's this? And I went, well, I got a knife in my pocket, and I was going to pull it out and throw it, which never works. You've seen it on cops. It doesn't work. He grabs my hand and pulls it out, and he pulls this bottle out, and he goes, what's this? And I went, I don't know. What do you think it is? What do you think it is? And we go round and round for 15 or 20 minutes about this, and I go, I really don't know what it is. And evidently it was shift change, because these guys didn't really want to screw with us too bad, because he says, destroy this. Well, I said, great. So I stomp on it and break it up, and I'm going, great. We're getting ready to get back in the car, and he goes, wait a minute. The other one had fallen out of my pocket right at his feet. And he picks it up and he goes, look, here's another one with a Coke spoon. And I went, I don't know what that is. And he goes, so we go around for another 30 minutes about this. And we get away with it. He goes, okay, here, destroy this. I went, okay, cool. I just got away with 2 felonies in the state of California, because there was about 2 grams in each bottle. And I said, great. And we start to get back in the car, and I've almost got my feet in and get ready to shut the door, and I hear him going. And he goes, he's got the joint that fell out from behind my belt buckle. And I go, what do you want me to do with this? And he goes, well, I think we're going to destroy it. And I said, okay. I took it from him, I put it in my mouth, and I went like this, and I figured, I already got away with 2 felonies, you're not going to screw with me on this. He grabs it out of my mouth and goes, no, goddamn it, tears it all up and shit, and goes, get out of here. We go for 5 minutes across the street, make a phone call, and pick up an ounce of cocaine not 15 minutes later, and back to Hollywood. That was my job.
I would have been in prison.
I thought we were going. I really did. Because, and it was.
It never worked for me.
Oh, it never worked for you.
It never did.
Talk a little bit about working with James Taylor.
That was a great band, because I forgot I worked for Billy Thorpe too, because actually I worked for, in the James Taylor tour, I worked for Russ Kunkel and Lee Sklar. And 2 of the best rhythm section guys, and Lee Sklar always had the greatest stuff. I mean, and he would show you everything so you could just set it up in a second. I mean, you didn't have to think about it. He just, the way he was. And James was, some of the better shows that I've ever seen, just musically, it was Waddy Wachtel, Danny Korchmar, Lee Sklar, Russ Kunkel, and what was the horn player? I'll think of his name in 10 minutes, but anyway, they had a horn player. And that was the Flag tour, the first tour I did, and he did all these old stuff too. And he would come out by himself with his guitar for 10 or 15 minutes, and it was every night was just gorgeous.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
He was really a nice guy. And he's probably one of the nicest guys I ever worked for. And the band was just great, because they'd worked together for so many years, and they knew what they wanted, and it was real easy. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Pretty drug-free.
Huh?
Pretty drug-free.
That was right after James got clean. Yeah, it was a fairly drug-free tour. It was really nice, because it was a big difference, where.
Oh, yeah.
That's something else I found out. No, I'm not going to say that.
When we went and saw Fleetwood Mac here this last time,
Yeah.
Microphone.
we went and saw him again here a few years ago. It's really hard to get into their shows. I never realized I was on the bus. But if I go out and stand outside there by the entrance for the limos, they always notice me. Sooner or later, Mick will come running out and bring us in. But the show that they do now is, they said 80% of it was written between 75 and 78, which is when we were there.
Right.
Their whole show is still the same. It was always a 2-hour and 20-minute set. The last one we saw was 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's just amazing. Exactly the same. Long time later.
In fact, the show, we're sitting at the soundboard, and I told Patrick, I says, when do you think Stevie's going to spin? And he goes, oh, she'll spin by the second song. I said, no. It'll be about the 4th or 5th song. And he goes, really? I went, yeah. And she almost spun once, man. He's going, I went, no. Wait. And then Rhiannon starts on the 5th song. And I'm going, here it comes. And he goes, oh yeah, here it comes.
Dervish across
He didn't know that I was sitting there looking at the set list on the guy's deal over here. And I knew when it was coming. I'm going, here it comes.
That's still a good band, though.
Oh yeah, they were still a great band. When Christine came back, it really made a big difference. Because I went to Vegas and saw him without Christine, and then saw him again in Kansas City with Christine, and it was totally different. It was really the old Fleetwood Mac. All her songs were the big hits.
Yeah.
You know, You Make Lovin' Fun, all those songs. And
Yeah, well, she's so great. I lived with her for a couple of years while we did Tusk.
Not lived with her. He lived in the same house.
Yeah, Dennis Wilson was her boyfriend. But I lived there while we did the Tusk album because they didn't want to get a hotel room, and that was fine. I was just going to go back to my little log cabin, but they said, you can live in Beverly Hills for a couple of years here. I went, yeah, I could do that.
Now you can't even after that, you can't even get him to go back to L.A. I had to drag him to L.A. about 6 months ago.
I don't want to go back there.
I know.
So what was it like when rumors hit? I mean, crowds just exploded.
Oh, it was crazy.
Oh, we went from 2,300 seat arenas to playing Days on the Green.
Yeah, like
overnight.
60,000 people.
We got a call. We had to reschedule a show in Santa Barbara because it got rained out, and it was at the college, and we were playing for next to nothing. And the show got rained out, and before we got back 2 months later, we were the biggest thing on fire. And this place, the University of Santa Barbara, sold out their football stadium.
Yeah.
Where they were going to have it before was on the lawn in front of the student union.
Yeah.
And they sold out their football stadium.
Yeah.
Because of Fleetwood. It was a lot of money made. I mean, it was, yeah. It got to be where they actually came to me and said, "What do you want in the rider for you guys?"
Yeah.
Well, I said, "Well, yeah, we want 2 cases of beer when we get there. We want 2 cases of beer at noon. And give us 6 cases just before we leave." And that was pretty much our rider, besides we got fed at noon and all that, but we had the important stuff in there.
Exactly. It's Chico.
Yeah, you might want to explain to some of these folks what roadies really do, how much work you guys, I mean.
Our typical day?
Very little work.
Very little work, no. The typical day started about, stage call was usually, when we had 3 semis, stage call was 8 o'clock. Okay, and at 8 o'clock, they started unloading trucks, and the riggers would go into the ceiling and put all the points in so they could hang everything, because everything we had was hung from the ceiling. In fact, we were one of the first bands to ever hang in the Budokan in Tokyo at 3. How far was the ceiling? It was a freaking long way.
It's a long ways, and that ramp had to come down.
Yeah, it had a round ceiling, and we had to take lights out in places to hang from the beams down to the stage, because the stage, you came in up here and went down.
It's made for sumo wrestling.
It was made for sumo wrestling, and all the equipment had to come down this way. But anyway, the riggers would come in, hang all the stuff, the sound would go in, go up, the lights would go in, go up, and then the band roadies would show up, and pretty much their stuff was, after it got big, I would have all the stuff already set on the stage in the cases, and all they'd do was come in and unpack it, put it down, plug it in, and you guys may have worked, 3 hours, something like that?
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours, and then hang around for the sound check.
Hang around for sound check, and then do the show, and then take it all down. The band equipment would be off the stage and in the truck in about less than an hour, and lights and everything. And under 3.5 hours, we could have the whole show in and out, have the whole show out and on the road. So we'd be out of there by 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, stop at a truck stop, get something to eat, and get back up at 8 o'clock the next morning.
Do it again.
And do it again. And
For years.
For years. And before that, before we got in the big time, we would be driving the trucks as well.
Yeah.
We used to drive, the first tour, we did a motorhome. We had a motorhome that the road crew, all the light crew and the sound crew, there was seven or eight of us,
Yeah.
rode in it and had a 20-foot box truck with lights, sound, and band gear
That's
crammed in
amazing.
it. And it was so overweight on the back end that every once in a while, in some states, he had to stop before he got to the weight station to move some weight to the front wheels in the front seat so he didn't get a ticket because we were so overweight on that truck. But that's kind of what the day was. It was a lot of boredom. We rode in the bus for, you might ride a 6-7 hour ride sometimes. We went across Canada a couple times from Vancouver
Up
over.
to 500 miles. When
Yeah,
I was a
500-600
bus
miles
driver.
is not an uncommon trip, and you're just in the bus doing nothing.
500 miles is basic every night. If you drive more than 500 miles, 501 miles counts as 2 days. I'm a bus driver, I know that. 1,000 miles is 3 days, which you can do pretty easily.
And then you would, when you're waiting on the band, you'd sit around and you'd go work on guitars, or you'd go fix equipment, or you'd fix cases, or you'd just hang out at the bar or whatever was going on that day. What we really liked, what was the most fun, was when Stevie got her slept with her contacts in and canceled a show in Greensboro, North Carolina. We had so much fun that day.
Yeah, we never had days off like that.
No, we never had a day off like that. And we
I
managed.
heard that cost the band $1 million by the time that was over.
I think we drank $1 million of Heineken in that bar.
Probably did.
They had to send out 3 times to get more
Well,
Heineken.
they were filming. That was it. They were filming and everything, and
That's
then
that
they
tour
could
they
get
were,
it. Yeah.
It cost them $1 million, yeah.
Cancel
So
the
it
show.
was, but it
Didn't cost me.
It really wasn't a tough job. It was just a lot of, you had to be on your toes at all. During the show, you had to be, it was like this. You had to know, you had spares, you had backups. If something went boom, you fixed it just like that. You just, boom, did it, and you were gone. You just
The
like in and
band
out.
usually didn't even know.
Yeah, they didn't even know. You
when
could do
something went
stuff, and they
down.
didn't even know. For the first, when I worked on first 2 tours, I was taking care of Christine and John, and mostly I just knew when to pour the wine and light the cigarettes.
Yes, that's mostly
That was
what the
my
job
biggest
was.
deal during the show, was pour wine and light
I didn't
cigarettes.
smoke, so I lit the wrong end of the
Yeah,
cigarette
he would light
right
it off.
off.
So I had to take that, even when he took them over, I still had to do that.
Yeah. Go ahead, smoke that.
Yeah,
John
smoke
looked at me like he was going to kill me. I went, what?
So,
They all taste like that to me.
yeah.
Did a European tour. Where did all the equipment?
We took our equipment with us.
Everything.
We went to
took
Australia.
everything.
We got a DC-9 stretch and filled the
Malolo.
entire thing up with sound equipment, band equipment, lights, everything. And
We were pallet 16.
We were pallet 16 on the very tail end of it. And all it
They
was
put
was
chairs down there, and that was it.
15 seats that we could all sit in. And a guy back there we wanted a stewardess, but we didn't get one. We got a steward. And
It was probably smart on the
it
airline.
really was smart. Especially that 16-hour flight we went from LA to Hawaii. They had to rest in Hawaii for the
Hawaii
pilots
to
to rest, had to rest
Guam
8
or
hours.
somewhere?
And then we ended up in Guam because we were running out of gas and couldn't make it to Australia. So we had to land in Guam, and we landed in New Guinea. We
New
landed
Guinea,
in
that's
Papua
right.
New Guinea out on this little airstrip, and there are mud people standing by the fence.
They
They'd never
prayed airplanes.
Right, they'd never seen a plane that big.
Yeah.
There were several runways we went off, and the back end would actually go. And I would not ride. The last show in that plane, we went to Hawaii, and we went from Honolulu to Maui. And they towed us to the end of the runway in Honolulu. And I'm standing, I'm going, wait a minute,
real hot.
why are we being towed to the runway? Why can't we start the air conditioner? No, well, the runway in Maui is a little short. And I went, what do you mean a little short? Well, they really don't recommend this type of plane coming in. And I'm going,
Yeah,
really?
We were the largest ever landed.
So I go, wait a minute. And I get out of the plane and walk over to the pilot's window, and and I'm going, hey, can you do this? And he goes, I got it. And I went, great, let's go. So we take off, and we start to land in Maui, and we are down over the water. And we're only about this high off the water. And all at once, there's a runway. And as soon as I see the runway, this plane goes down, and he slams it.
Yeah, shuts it off.
Shut it off.
There's
And
no fuel. That's why.
He just had enough fuel to get there. That was it. That's all. They didn't put any more fuel in it in case we crashed. We would not burn.
You can see Maui.
I thought that was good thinking. I mean, So
That's why I used
we
to
hit the
drink.
runway hard. I mean, and just you could hear stuff bouncing in the compartment, and we were just and we stopped, and I got off the plane, and we did the show that night, and I went over to the road manager and said, "Listen, we got to leave here tomorrow on this plane." And there are four, because all our girlfriends had come out because that was the last show and we were going to be in Maui, and they're all flying back on this plane. That's 6 more bodies on this plane. That's more weight. Guess what? I'm not flying. I want a ticket. I want a ticket home. And they went, okay, you can just fly with the band. I went, great. That's great. Well, needless to say, I didn't know that Lindsay had given Raymond, I just found out, by the way, a friend of ours has a book coming out. If you ever want to read some more about this, it's called The Care and Feeding of Fleetwood Mac. It's written by Raymond Lindsay, who worked for him longer than he and I did. He was still there when Patrick left.
He was there 30 years.
Right. Raymond started out as a truck driver when I did the first tour. He was the truck driver. And he ended up taking care of Lindsay's guitars. And he just wrote a book. It's getting ready to come out. And he just sent me an advance copy of it. It's hilarious. It is just so good. And anyway, I forgot what. Oh, Lindsay had given him a bag of Maui Wowie that evidently they smoked on the way back across to LA that I didn't. I was commercial. I didn't get that. So, but it was worth it because it was scary on this plane sometimes. They would scrape.
Yeah, that plane, we call that plane Malolo. It was a stretch DC-8 or stretch
DC-9. Yeah, stretch 9.
And a lot of airports, it was the largest that had ever landed there, and it was all gear in there. But we call it Malolo because that's the flying fish is what it means in Hawaiian, and we were never sure
Yeah.
if we were going to make it, if we were going to go submarining or flying.
Right. And when we were in Australia, it was all land-based, so we had a week where they didn't, Fleetwood had leased the plane for the entire tour. Well,
Oh, God,
they
that's
went,
right.
they got a bright idea, they got a great, it was a good idea. It
No,
really
it
was a
horrible.
good idea.
It was horrible.
It was a good idea. They rented it to a Japanese or Chinese company, and they carried Charolais cattle.
On our Pallet 16.
On our Pallet 16.
And they crapped all over Pallet 16.
That
was
plane
a smelly
never smelled the
plane.
same.
Oh,
It was
man.
great. That was the
go
other.
to
That was the
Guam.
other thing.
Yeah.
That I went. No, I'm not doing this
Yeah.
anymore. This is no.
Everybody's sitting there going, what is that smell?
It had so much.
Is that you?
Yeah. Like there's so much deodorizer and just manure. It was ridiculous.
It was bad.
I thought I was back on the
I'd
farm.
forgotten that.
Yeah. So it was a good idea at the time. You know, they paid for the plane. You know, we didn't like it a whole lot.
Almost
but-
lost the road crew.
Yeah, we were expendable. Who cared? We'll just get
That's
some
true.
more.
They could always get more roadies.
Yeah, that's the thing. You could always get more roadies.
This is true.
Yeah, you burn one, I'm out, you go get one. We went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drum roadies in 2 years.
Who is it?
Julie.
Oh, hi, Julie.
Hi, Julie. No. So, yeah, drum roadies were hard to come by with Mick Fleetwood. He was very particular.
Kind of like with Spinal Tap. They just-
Yeah, it was, in fact, yeah. Yeah, in fact, if you've ever watched Spinal Tap, if you watch the road manager in Spinal Tap, that was John Courage. That's who it was modeled after,
Yeah.
was John Courage, who we worked for.
JC.
John Courage was the kind of guy that, he was an old English roadie, worked for Savoy Brown. And we were opening for Loggins and Messina. And there were several places where Loggins and Messina hadn't sold out very well, and Fleetwood was starting to get really big, and we sold more tickets than they did. But we weren't getting a sound check every day. Messina was very particular about how he wanted his sound to be, and he would,
Hour-and-a-half sound check.
yeah, I started to say fiddle fuck around, but it's not. It was just terrible. Oh, yeah. It was an hour-and-a-half sound check, and he would only be there like 15 minutes. So JC told Raymond and I, he said, okay, I want a sound check tomorrow. I don't care what you guys have to do. I want a sound check. I want the equipment set up at 5:30. I said, okay. So we told Loggins and Messina's roadies, this is, okay, at 5:30 we're setting our stuff up. You know, at 5 o'clock we're setting our stuff up. And he went, you don't want to do that? And I went, oh, yes, we are. We're doing that. Now you can
They
either...
were still the headliners.
They were still the headliners,
Technically.
and we told them either you can be there and stop us, or you can just be conveniently out of the
Go
way,
away.
because you don't want to be there and try to stop us, because it's not going to go well. So, we had our stuff on the side stage like usual, and we had Gilbert Lopez
Oh, yeah.
and Lenny were there. Lenny was about a 365-pound trucker, and he was a trucker. And Lenny was there. Raymond and I and Chris Bix and somebody else. And anyway, we had our stuff all set, And at 5:30, Messina just got there, and he's starting to do his sound check, and we just started setting our stuff up in front of him. And he's playing, and the whole band just stops, and they get up and leave. They were done. They didn't really care about sound check. They were done. They got up and left. Loggins left. Messina starts just going off. He is threatening Raymond to beat him up, and I'm just setting my stuff up. I got off by the time.
He's littler than me.
Yeah. Oh, he was yelling at Pat, going to beat Patrick up. He was going to whip Patrick, and I'm going, okay, this is a perfect opportunity. I got all my stuff set up, and by the time he got through ragging him, JC shows up, the band shows up, they start playing, and off the conversation goes over here. The next week, we got anything we wanted.
Yeah, we were the headliners.
We were the headliners.
Yeah.
The week after that, we were the headliners. And we didn't do it to them. We let them have their sound check. You get 30 minutes. It starts at 5 o'clock. Doors open at 6. If you get done, and that's it. We're going to give you one. But we're going to treat you the same way you treated us. You don't move your drum riser. You don't move anything. We get this little bitty space. Great. You get the same space.
That's basically what roadies do. though.
So that's
We
kind of
just-
the way it works.
Just set up stuff up every day the same way. It's pretty
Yeah.
much what we do.
Just,
Been doing it for a long time.
yeah.
Got any good stories of equipment emergencies, especially during a gig?
With Fleetwood, it got so easy. I had triplicates of everything on stage, and you would just literally do.
Yeah.
The band wouldn't even know it if something went off.
Christine played a Hohner piano that
Oh, yeah, those are
that
bad.
they didn't make since
Clavinet. It was a clavinet.
clavinet, the Hohner clavinet, and they hadn't made them since 1968. She loved it. I walked into a store in New York and they had 10 of them. I bought every one of them.
Yeah, we did have.
And it had a case made for every one of them. Every piece of equipment we had a case.
Oh yeah.
And some cases had cases they went into. The same dressing room cases they use today is the ones we built
That's
in
true.
1975.
Yeah.
The same dressing room cases are being used today.
We saw it when we went to that
Right.
last show. Like, God, I remember that.
Yeah, we were big business for the case company, Anvil Case Company. Anvil Case Company.
And
They
A&S,
made
too.
each, and A&S. Anvil Case Company made each one of us a briefcase.
Oh yeah.
With our name and everything. I've still got mine, but I don't know where it's at. It's one of those things.
I had mine. I had a big penguin on mine, and
Yeah.
one time, and we were in England, and I left it sitting down by the end of the bar and was down talking to somebody else and didn't even think about it. But my last name is Byrne, B-Y-R-N-E. Patrick Jameson Byrne, very Irish. Couldn't find my briefcase, and it had my name on the outside of it. Found it in a slop sink full of water. They thought it was a bomb somebody had left in the passport floating around and stuff. And what the heck?
Yeah, so, but, anymore, we live a pretty ordinary life, I guess.
Pretty much.
I'm retired. I live at Cooper's Landing on the Missouri River. It's a resort and a little marina.
Resort.
It's a resort. I keep telling you this.
bait shop.
It says it
It's
right
a
there.
bait shop.
It says resort on the sign. I'm telling you.
I used to live there.
Okay, fine. It's a little bait shop.
Wait, somebody's trying to get you.
Yeah, I live upstairs.
I used to
Why,
live there
you know
too.
where Cooper's is at? Yeah, I do this. I do the sound there on the weekends.
Yeah, I moved there 20 years ago.
Yeah, he
He
used to-
moved there about a year ago or so.
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, July last year. Yeah, he used to live there.
I used to. I bought my own house up north.
Well, see, I've known Mike Cooper about as long as I've known him.
yeah,
So
50 years or something
yeah,
we've known each other.
I knew Cooper when he first moved down there. Only had a trailer and a little bitty dock. We used to go down there on the weekends, and it was a 1.5 mile dirt road. And if
The
it
Katy
rained,
Trail?
right?
It was a railroad.
It was still a railroad.
It was
then.
a railroad still when
So-
we used to go down there.
Yeah, that's funny.
They have belly dancers on the weekend?
Sometimes.
We do have the moon belly. we do have moon belly comes down once
right.
a year, and it's the packed
fun
house.
spot.
It's a fun spot. Yeah,
A lot of old hippies.
Actually, Soup's going to be down Memorial Day weekend on Friday night. Soup is going to be there, so he's coming up that way. He played there last year, had a great time.
Who did you guys work for that you couldn't wait to get fired from?
Oh,
The band I couldn't wait to
there's
get
a lot
fired
of
from.
those. MC Hammer.
Ooh, God.
I could have killed that guy. I'm telling you what, nice pants, man. Oh, he irritated me.
There was really never one I wanted to get fired from. I don't think.
I was driving a bus. I couldn't get
Yeah.
them off.
I did do a, what was it? I sold T-shirts for a while on some tour that I just hated. but it didn't matter because I was making money and having
Yeah.
a great time. So I didn't
Not
really
to like the act.
I wasn't working for the band, I was working out front, so it didn't matter. But I don't think I ever really. There wasn't any band. I really didn't. I could just about pick and choose who I wanted to work for.
Oh, when I was driving a bus, there's a band from Chicago called Enough, Z-Nuff, heavy metal thing. They want to be, like Motley Crue or something, but they're really bad, really horrible, really bad. And I could never, they'd call me over to leave, they'd play clubs, and call me at like 11 o'clock at night to drive them to the next city, but then you couldn't get them out of the bar till 2 o'clock, and they're trying to hustle women and stuff. I finally started getting mad about it, because, you got to sleep sometime. And that's one that, I know they never want to see me again either, but I kept telling them, we got to go, we're out of time. You keep calling me too early. They go, oh, just a minute. There's a switch under the seat on a driver's seat on a bus where you can dump the toilet right there where they're standing. And I did that. And I told you it's time to go, folks. He said, what is that smell? Well, I said it was time to go.
Remember Jim Varney?
Yeah.
We used to have a bus driver that loved country western music. Because every night we'd stop at a truck stop to eat dinner.
Eating bennies.
Yeah. And he would chew bennies
Yeah.
and chase them with Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels, right?
Okay, but he loved country music. So we would go in and he would put $1 in the jukebox and play every country song he wanted to play. Let me turn this off. And we would go in and put $3 or $4 and play every song we wanted to play. So every time one of his songs came on, one of us would get up from the table on the way to the bathroom and bump the jukebox and switch it.
We weren't country fans, man.
And it took him about 3 or 4 times before he figured out what we were doing. But when he figured it out, we're going down the highway, and in the bus, you had seniority. In the bus, you always wanted a lower bunk. Number one, because it was easier to get in and out of. You could just roll into them. You just walk in and boom, you're there. But at this particular night, I had the lower bunk, and the kids were up top, and he'd figured it out. So we're going down the highway about 80 miles an hour in that bus, and he does this. And you hear bodies going.
I was a bus driver. That's kind of a good
Needless
trick.
to say, that's the last time anybody bumped into the jukebox.
You don't want to harass your bus driver
No,
a whole
no.
lot.
How about Dylan?
Dylan, I did his Christian period. I did one European tour and one American tour. When I first went out with him, he would do 3 Christian songs to open. The tour before I was with him, he wouldn't do anything but his new Christian music. No Dylan songs that everybody came to see. And so he got booed a lot. And I went to Europe with him, and he started with 3 of his born-again Christian songs. And you could hear a pin drop. There might be 50,000 people, but dead silence. And then he'd go, and the 3rd or 4th song was like a Rolling Stone. And then they'd come alive. But yeah, it was really a tough period. Incredible band. But Bob's a kind of a strange guy. He likes to throw people off in general. He'll always remember me, I know that. I upstaged him in Toulouse, France, actually. I bought a fireworks in Switzerland. It looked like a iodized salt shaker on top of a 2x4, and I kept saying, that last outdoor show, when he breaks into that Christian song in the beginning of the show, I'm setting this thing off, and no one would believe it. And so he came out on stage in Toulouse and said, when they came for him in the garden, did they know? And it went, wham! The whole sky lit up, and it was supposed to have no report, but it had a lot of report. And I'm standing there with this, stage is built on screw jacks, and it's just smoking. I can't believe somebody did that to Bob fucking Dylan. Do you believe that? Walked back up and tuned his guitar. He will remember me. You go.
I don't have anything. I don't know.
You got stories.
Yeah, but most of them I can't tell. The statute of limitations hasn't run out on them.
What's your favorite and least favorite bands or acts that you worked for and why? Briefly.
The
Least favorite?
Favorite and least favorite.
Fleetwood is still my favorite. As far as performance quality, day after day after day, they're a really good band.
Yeah, I would say so too.
And the least favorite, would probably be enough's enough. Because I had enough.
You know, least favorite. Wow, I don't, you know.
I did a few that I didn't.
Yeah, see, I didn't really like I said, I didn't really work for anybody. I really didn't. In fact, when I went to work for Fleetwood Mac, I didn't know who they were.
Yeah, when you
Because Mike
told me
Miller
that.
called me and he went, Fleetwood Mac. I went, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, you
know.
told me they were new.
Yeah.
I like that. What?
You know, I didn't know who, because I wasn't I wasn't a blues guy. I never listened to the blues. I didn't know who Peter Green was. What's really funny is
Black
he
Magic
and I had an 8-track, and when we worked for the Daredevils, we had this box truck. And highly illegal, we had an 8-track tape player under the seat with 2 jacks in the dash so we could have headphones. So when you were driving, you could be listening to the stereo and the other guy wouldn't be disturbed. Well, it's highly illegal, but we didn't know this. So
Couldn't hear a
anyway,
siren,
we
that's
had a mixtape my older brother made for us, and it had 3 or 4 Fleetwood Mac songs on it. I had no idea. I was going, oh, I really like this song. Who's this? I don't know. You know, but when I went to work for them, I didn't know who they were. And first 2 weeks, all I really did was they sat in the studio and they mixed stuff from the first album, and I was working on the equipment and getting my stuff together and figuring out what was going on. So,
Yeah.
you know, seriously, the first tour was only going to go 3 months. And 3 months went by, and all at once, here's a week off, and we're going to go out another 3 months. Then we're going to go out 6 months. Then we're going to go out for a whole year. Oh, shoot, let's just go to Europe, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
They
why
sold a
not?
lot
Let's
of
go to
records.
Australia. They sold tons of records.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my life story. 18 months from frozen TV dinners to tits. Okay? So what it was about, I mean, it was like here, and all at once, it's 18 months, you're going bam.
It did come up quick.
Yeah, the greatest thing, and here's when we knew it was big. We woke up in Modesto, California one time about 10 o'clock, and we had a 9 o'clock flight. Well, we'd missed it. And we're going, okay, let's just go to the airport. We'll get a flight. Well, there's not enough flight going to wherever we're going till the next day, and it's too far to drive. We won't make it. And I said on the way in, I said, you know what? I saw 2 Cessnas over there. I said, they just gave me an American Express card with my name on it. It says Fleetwood Mac, Ron Penny.
Let's
And
fly Honolulu.
I went, I bet we can get a plane. 2 of them. I walked in, flopped it down and went, I want to rent those 2 planes. We need to go now. The guy goes, okay, let's go. And the
Money has advantage.
And the great thing about it is, I don't remember that until we started talking about it about 6 months ago.
That's right.
And I'm going, I don't remember this. No way. I went, oh, yeah. And then they showed me a picture, and there's a picture of the sound guy at 10
In the
o'clock
plane.
in the plane across the way. They're close enough where we're taking a picture of him drinking a Heineken beer.
Yeah.
And I went, I do remember those planes. And I started piecing the story back together. I went, oh my God, that's when we knew it was big, when we could go do stuff like that. You know, just walk in and go, I need those 2 planes now. We got to go to wherever.
Or forget where you left the rent-a-car.
Yeah,
Nobody really cares.
forget the rent-a-car and who
I don't know where
cares?
it is.
Call them up. Hey, there's a car in Kansas City someplace.
We can't find it.
Can't find it. But I stayed at this hotel. It's got to be right across the street.
Somewhere there.
They would find them. You know, they would just go and, you know, they magically appeared.
We got a little spoiled, I think.
Yeah, we did get spoiled. We did.
Yeah.
Divorces and all the romantic cross currents, did that affect your all's job?
It was kind of funny to watch.
We
you know?
we stayed as far away from that as possible. It was real funny because I worked for John and Christine both at the same time when all that was going
Yeah,
on.
me too.
So I had to act like I didn't know jack about either one of them, because both of them would be going, well, I don't know. I don't know. You know, and at the same time, I'm doing everything for both of them. I know everything, and I'm going,
And Stevie and Lindsay were.
I don't know. And
real-
Stevie and Lindsay were, you know, going through all that stuff. And
Remember him kicking her on the stage
Oh,
in,
yeah.
in New Zealand that time? Oh,
yeah,
my gosh.
she, Mr. Part, he just turned around and kicked her.
Turn around and kick her. Shacking up's all you want to do.
Yeah,
Boom.
boom.
Whoa. I looked over and said, okay, the tour's over.
Yeah, tour's over
The
now.
tour is over.
No, but no, we just kind of stayed away from that. We just steered clear, because that was, you know, you can hear it in the record. I mean, if you listen to
Yeah.
the Rumors album, it is, every song about that is a breakup,
Yeah.
except for Gold Dust Woman, and that's about cocaine. So that's all it was breakups and cocaine.
Your MC Hammer story.
Yeah.
MC, oh.
I didn't even know you worked for MC.
Oh, I was a bus driver for them,
Oh.
yeah. And I was, well, he hired me, And it was a tour. It was his dancers and his band and his backup singers were 3 different groups, and he put them out. MC Hammer presents these 3 acts, and he was not there. He was managing and stuff. So every place we went, I'd arrive, and then 2 hours later they'd be calling me, well, the show got canceled. We got to go to the next town. And, you know, when you're driving bus 500 miles and then you get an hour off and you got to go another 800, and then they did that to me the whole time. And finally, all of the security guys were Bloods out of L.A. And yeah, they were kind of nasty guys, and they all had guns around and stuff. It bothered me. And I went to clean one time. The vacuum cleaner's always under the couch on the bus, and I reached in there, grabbed an AK-47 with a clip in it, pulled it out, boom, threw it back in there. And I went to a truck stop and bought a pistol and came back, and MC and his brother were sitting there, and they kept saying, you can't get on the bus, you can't get on the bus. It's my bus. You can't tell me I can't get on the bus. It's my bus. I will load up, pull your baggage off, and drive back. We were out of Memphis at that point. I said, I will leave. And I came in and said, well, it's okay. You can go in there for a minute. And I walked in, and it was just MC and his brother sitting there, and I slammed that .357 down on the table. And they're both like, whoa. And I said, that is the last gun we're going to see on this bus. Or the next one I see, I'm pulling over, and it's the first highway patrolman I see, and we'll just check everybody's gun permits, okay? You know, that's what's happening here. And boy, they were going to get me fired and stuff. And then I pointed out to them the license plates on the front were from Mississippi, and they probably have a hard time finding another bus driver under those conditions if that they really wanted. When I told them my side of the story, they might not get another bus from our company.
So how did you, you know, obviously you kind of worked your way up. How did you get in business?
I realized back in the 60s, I ran away to the Haight-Ashbury stuff. And I was still a teenager, but you start thinking you got to do something to make money. And all I really liked doing was getting high and listening to music. So I figured out a way to make money at it. And just start carrying stuff into stuff, and they'll start letting you into shows. And if you get good and know what you're doing, they'll pay you.
So you were in San Francisco.
Huh?
You were living in San Francisco.
I lived in the Haight, in the late 67, 68, yeah.
And a lot of it was being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
And who, you know, being, you know, everybody I always worked with on the road, you always try to be nice to, because you never know who your next boss is going to be. You know, that's one thing. It's one thing we learned from being an opening act to being a headliner is you don't want to treat the opening act like, you know, crap, because one of these days they're going to be bigger than you are.
Exactly.
And you may have to go to work for them. I mean, we had bands, Heart opened for us, and Fleetwood Mac, Jeff Beck.
Oh, he was a nice guy.
Oh, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
We had a lot. We got to see a lot of bands that opened up for us, and nobody stayed more than a couple of weeks, maybe, and it.
That was a good spot. If you
Yeah.
could open for Fleetwood Mac, you were guaranteed sell-out shows for as long as you were there.
As long as you could hang. So
I think they still always sell out. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. They make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's really changed a lot in the last probably 10 years where, you know, the young group's coming up and now they
Well,
don't do that anymore, it's all about money?
Actually, what's really changed is there's stuff that we used to do on our own as just a group of guys. We used to call ourselves we now refer to ourselves as the Knights of Rock. But that doesn't happen anymore. It's so business oriented now. AEG owns about everything that tours.
And
If you don't work for
there's
AEG,
accountants on every
right,
tour, so-
accountants on every tour. If you don't work for AEG, you don't work, basically.
Like with Foreigner, when they started out there, their accountants sitting there backstage.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Couldn't do nothing.
Exactly.
No, our accountant was JC, who would walk into the promoter's office with a briefcase and come out with a whole bunch of money.
And
You know?
back then, originally, I mean, I live off of my Social Security now. I'm retired. I wish I would have paid more taxes. It was a cash business back then, you know. And sometimes I made good money and stuff, but I'd be just going through it as much, and I didn't pay much taxes. If I didn't get claimed or get a 1099, I didn't claim it. So I remember one year driving a bus, I made $73,000, and I got 1099s for $21,000. So I only claimed $21,000. But now I wish I would have paid the taxes because I'd have more now.
It's about the time that everything went from records to digital.
Right.
You know, it used to be you went out on tour to sell records. Now you go out on tour to make money.
Yeah.
Nobody's making money on records.
seemed like the year 2000 is when it all went up.
Yeah, right about,
Yeah, right about there.
Started in the 90s, believe me, we saw it coming.
And people record in their basement. Some super huge hit albums are recorded in the guy's basement. It's really one guy. And it gives us, who was, Boston was like that. It was
Right.
all one guy.
Well, I talked to Lee Sklar a while back, and he still works, but he doesn't even go in the studio. He's got a studio in his house.
Yeah.
They send him
Mail
the
it
track, they send him the tracks, and he puts his piece on it and sends it back.
Yeah.
That's how they record today.
There's a deal on PBS the last Friday I saw where they're talking about The Voice, and they even had a deal on Tusk and how that all came together. I think I saw you on there.
Probably. I was carrying around a cutout of
Yeah,
John. That was a fun time. That Tusk was crazy.
They showed how it all went from these major deals and how Tusk cost and everything, and then how it's all now in basements and
Yeah, it just went shh.
the voicing and everything is audiotronic. It's just,
Oh.
You can phone it in. You can
And-
basically phone it
Yeah,
in.
there was one time in the studio doing the Rumors album, we spent 3 days in a sound booth breaking glass.
Oh, walking across it.
Walking
big
across
sheets
it,
of glass.
dumping it. I must have spent
4 by 8
$1,200.
sheet of glass.
$1,200 buying glass. Just go out and get some more glass. Okay.
Sounds like a symbol.
You
Why
know?
don't you use a symbol?
Yes, yeah. 50 different ways to break glass. We got a lesson in it. We know how to do
Yeah.
that without getting cut.
I know how to clean it up. I
Yeah,
know
we
that.
cleaned a bunch. But, so,
Fabulous.
thank you.
I told you we were in for something special.
All right.
Thank you, Ron.
Good,
I'm glad you-
Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
you
Thank
so
you.
much.
It's just fabulous.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'd like you to stay another hour.
Oh, God.